Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I'm here with another special Podapalooza episode with the lovely J Lumen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm excited to be here, and I love the title of your podcast too.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to have you here, and because it's a Podapalooza episode, I don't have a bio from you here, so I would love for you to introduce yourself, and let's dive right into it, because I love what you're doing here, the unknown bucket list, flip your switch. We're going to have an amazing conversation. I know it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to dive into my backstory, actually, because I think that will serve your listeners best. Oh, tongue-tied. So a number of years ago, I found myself trapped in the wrong relationship at the wrong job and kind of felt like I was stuck in a washing machine on agitate. I couldn't leave the job because I was in the wrong relationship. I couldn't leave the relationship because of the job. And I couldn't see a way out. I just couldn't figure it out. And the reason I say wrong relationship is because if he had asked me to marry him, I would have said no. You know, kind of a clue. But I was financially responsible for the relationship. And so I felt guilty about kicking him out, couldn't quit the job because of the finances, etc. So that's why I was trapped in my own life. And I just was beating myself up why I couldn't figure this out and I couldn't figure a way out of it. Eventually, I realized that I could pay for him to go live with his family, which was 4 states away. And I did that. But then I convinced myself that the job I had just been complaining about that I hated, was it really that bad? I mean, I didn't know what I wanted, so I might as well just stay with what I knew. The money was good. I already had I would have had to break the lease, convince myself to stay there. And that actually turned out to be the worst decision that I made, because 2 months later, said boy drove over 1,000 miles away. And there was a knock at the door, and it ended with his arrest for attempted murder. Mine. And that's shocking to hear, but it ties right in with that was my wake-up call.
Right.
Because I had started to fix my life, and then I quit because I didn't know what I wanted. And even though I still didn't know exactly what I wanted, that was the literal punch in the face of, you have a second chance. You started to fix your life. Life is short. You need to go start living now.
And that is very often what a wake-up call is. It's exactly that. Go start living now. Do something different, right?
Yeah.
And we've had the signals along the way, and we haven't listened, or we haven't taken enough action, which is exactly what you're explaining here. So while I'm sorry that happened, it happened for a reason.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And you're here smiling in front of me, so I know that you look back at that with at least some degree of gratitude that it happened, because it got you to where you're at today.
My life is incredible since then. Like, once I started just moving and making changes, and my life is, I never could have imagined this would be my life. And if that hadn't happened, who knows how long I would have tolerated the job, stayed where I was, did the responsible thing, didn't break the lease. You know, because as adults, we're told that we have to suck it up and tolerate it so many times. And
And be
we don't
serious and
have
pay the
to.
bills and do what you're supposed to do and be responsible. All of those things.
Yeah, you can still be responsible and live a happy life.
Yes. It's not one or the other.
Right. And it's, um, you know, it's about it starts becoming about intentional decisions. You know, do I want this? Do I want that? And there's a way to keep going and get to the life that you want that's not imprisoned by your means or your circumstances. And you know, I want to tell you what I'm passionate about is I don't I don't want people to have to wait to have a life altering experience and before they start living a life that they don't regret, because life is short. It's cliche, but it's true. And maybe your listeners
Even that,
don't.
it's just only one life in the sense that make the most of what you have now.
Yes. Yes. And maybe your listeners don't relate exactly to my circumstances, but everybody has had some sort of loss, some sort of tragic event. And if you haven't had that experience, thank goodness, but don't wait for that to happen before you start living your life. And that's why I'm here today on your podcast.
Well, I love it because it is absolutely beautiful alignment with the name of my podcast. And it's generally we get to the towards the end when I ask people, what does don't wait for your wake up call mean to you? And in your case, you've come right on at the beginning and shared that, which I absolutely love that alignment. So you had your wake up call
Yes.
and you knew that you had to start living and you needed to do
Yes.
things differently in order to start living. So walk us through what you did next, because that's obviously brought you to where you're at today, where you're helping other people flip their switch. So take us through the next steps.
So even though that happened, like I said, I still didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I needed to take action. And something I did was I looked back at my past achievements. You know, we don't give ourselves enough credit for things that we've done.
Yes.
And we dismiss a lot of accomplishments as insignificant. And so I started looking back at, you know, what my forgotten passions, what I used to enjoy doing. And I used that as a leverage to guide myself into a life that I live now. And it's just, they're little mini moments that you collect along the way. And those are what, you know, life is unexpected, unplanned, and random. We like to think we can control it, but we really can't. And when you start collecting those mini moments that happen during the day, the unplanned and unexpected things that we used to dismiss as insignificant, we get this little collection of our life. And, you know, everybody knows what a bucket list is. But for most of us, that bucket list is full of dreams and hopes that are never going to happen because maybe we don't think that we have our means or our circumstances. It's actually the unknown bucket list is a way of uncovering the bucket list of life that you've already been living and then leveraging that to go build bigger dreams and find ways to make your goals and dreams happen and not stay imprisoned by your means or circumstances. Because you might have a dream and think, oh, I don't have enough money to do it. I don't know the right connections. I don't, whatever. But there's a way of thinking about it. And maybe it's not as glamorous as what you want it to be, but you could still accomplish that goal.
I love that. And it's so true what you said that we don't give ourselves enough credit. And when
No.
you look back at your successes, that until you took the time to look back at them, they were not really acknowledged and therefore seemed inconsequential in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also because those are things that in many ways came easily to you.
Yes.
And so that's your skill, excuse me, your skill or your innate talent, right? And so that's what comes easily to you. that you can then go out and share with the world.
Yes.
And so that's how you shifted your life into what you wanted to do based on figuring out what brought you joy, what came easy.
Yes.
And so often
Yes.
in life, we think we have to do things that are hard in order for it to be worthy or for us to be successful. And it's actually the exact opposite.
Well, and just to kind of go off of that, so we all don't give ourselves enough credit for what we've done, but you were just talking about doing things that are hard. Remember back when you were learning to drive a car, you sat in the driver's seat. You had to turn on the ignition. There was the steering wheel. There's the side mirrors. There's the rear view mirror. There's the blinker. There's the seatbelt. There's the windshield wipers. There's the radio. There's the gas. Oh my gosh. So much to learn. And you have to maintain a certain speed and getting on the interstate. Whoop, you have to time the stoplights and everything. You have to do so much when you learn to drive a car that it's overwhelming. But if you have a license and you drive a car, then you learned how to do and you can do hard things.
Yes.
So you look back and that's just a mini moment. It's just a micro shift in your thinking. And you can take that confidence because obviously you can do hard things. You learn to tie your shoes, you learn to walk, you learn to drive a car. And now how many times do you go somewhere and you don't even think about driving the car? But you can take that confidence and you can leverage it and be like, I can do hard things. And just keep going and make those changes in your life so where it's, you start living the one that you don't regret.
Exactly. And just a shift on that too, that I love where you're going with this conversation, that I can do the hard things, I can learn hard things, and with practice they become easy. They become,
Yes.
even, when we get to that state of unconscious learning, right? We've practiced it so often we can do it with our hands tied behind our back and our eyes closed.
Yes.
However, we don't have to make things hard for ourselves.
No.
And that's what so often we inadvertently do when we get in our own way.
Yes.
And what you're offering people is shifting them out of that place.
Yes, because everything can be micro shifts.
Exactly. Into a world of let's look at this differently.
Yes.
And let's look at the possibilities when we look at it differently.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that. I love that. So did you move states? Are you in the same state you were in? Did you?
So I ended up moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. And one of the things that I did, I had a job opportunity and I only had a few days to get there. And I could have flown. I had a place that I could have stored my car, but I couldn't afford to fly. So I drove. Well, I couldn't afford the hotels. So I slept in my car. And it's the first time that I slept in my car. Well, it took me 3 days to drive across the country. And then I had to return back at some point to the other side, to the East Coast. And well, I slept in my car on the way there. So I did it once. I can do it again. And that eventually led to many road trips with many sleeps in the car. Not because I had to, but it just opens this freedom and flexibility of, okay, I want to travel. Well, if I don't have the means, but I have a car and I can afford gas, well, now I'm not limited by whether I have a hotel room or not. I can just sleep in the car. And it's not always glamorous, but you can still get the life that you want.
I love that. And also just the talk of freedom too, because when you don't even have a hotel booked, it's like you can drive as far or as little as you want in a day and stop when something catches your interest and not worry about, am I going to get far enough in my day?
Right.
So
And
there is a lot of freedom to that. And it may not be glamorous. However, it's all a choice, right? And
it is. It's a choice.
I've slept in a minivan myself, and there's different ways to do things. And it also, glamour isn't all that it's cut out to be. There's so much adventure in doing things a different way.
There is. And something that I go over with the unknown bucket list approach is like we address fear. And we have such a fear of judgment. So people might be listening to us talking about, you slept in a minivan, I sleep in a car, and they're like, no, but we don't have a fear of judgment about it because
Right.
that's something that we enjoy. And it's like, okay, this is a challenge and this is fun, and there's freedom and flexibility with it. And it's, you can make compromises in your life, but as long as you're making the choice that you ultimately want, because you're the only one who is living your life.
Yes. And that's what it really comes down to, is
Yes.
being able to make the right choice for you. And that's true, like even in the work that I do with people in their health. And when I recently on this podcast shared my recent health journey, and I wasn't saying that what I did is what everybody should do. It's what I did for me because it was right for me. And
Yes.
other people are going to address their health journey in their way and what's right for them. I just want them to be aware that there's options out there they might not have ever known about. And
Yes.
then they can make a choice that's right for them. And that's exactly the same here, is living your life your way.
Yes. Making the intentional decision of, I want this, I don't want that. So I'm going this way. And it's not based on influence from family or friends or colleagues or fear or anything like that. It's because that's what you want. And it's not something that happens overnight, but in little micro shifts, you can eventually get to that place where it's just like, okay, come at me, life. I'm ready.
I can do this. So
Yes.
tell me more how you work with your clients. What does that look like?
I actually like to work with my clients one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually ties right into what I was just saying about fear, because the point is for you to find your voice in your own life. And if you're in a group setting, you might feel pressure, to, well, I want this, but I don't want to say it because it might sound silly or it might sound stupid, or, you might have a fear of judgment from somebody. And hopefully once we have a rapport, from speaking, hopefully they know I'm not going to judge them, that I genuinely want whatever it is that they want to go after. I want to help them get there and make the little micro shifts and just start living the life that they don't regret, because we never know when our day on earth is going to end. And we're always going to want more time with family or friends. But if we've been living the life of doing the things that we want to do, then we're never going to say, oh, I wish I had more time to go do that. So that's why I like to work with my clients one on one, is because then it literally is about them.
That's beautiful. And it is important to think about, when our time is done, what are we going to say on our deathbed?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever saying, I wished I worked harder, right?
No.
Or I wished I lived that person's dream that they wanted me to live,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those are never the things that are said. It is more about time with friends and family, travel, learning, following passions, etc., etc. So that's beautiful. I love how you're helping people really connect with themselves and who they are so that they can live their best life.
Yes, absolutely. Because we all deserve it. Nobody deserves to live a life that they feel like they're tolerating. Like, oh, I'm an adult, so I just have to suck it up and tolerate it. No, you can make little micro changes, and there might be some things. There's going to be good times and bad times in life, and so it's life is going to knock you down a couple times, but being able to just get back up and keep on going and not stay knocked down, is that way you just keep getting the most out of your life. And yeah, it's a good thing.
And let's face it, when we get knocked down, it's a learning opportunity.
Yes.
And when we learn, we grow. We're better for it. We're stronger. I know it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but it always does
No.
afterwards, once we've
Right.
had the learnings. And then it's, keep going on that path. And that getting knocked down might be something that's actually shifting paths for you because you're not on the path that is truly aligned with who you're always meant to be. And so it's redirecting you into that. So there's a lot of reasons that, we get knocked down in life, and it never feels good in the moment. However, there's always reward for it after the
Yes.
come through it.
And that's why I say the on the unknown bucket list, the bucket list of life that you're living, the good and the bad go on there. Because if you have something bad, well, you either got through it, you survived it, you figured out how to navigate it, you give yourself credit for that.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
as what you were just saying is that maybe it shifts you and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that I liked this or wanted to, maybe you have to learn something new. Maybe you have to learn something about yourself. And it just opens up a whole new world. It's not everything bad is always bad.
And so, well, exactly, not everything bad is always bad. It feels bad in the moment, but very often we
Yes.
can look back at it with some level of gratitude and appreciation, just like you
Mm-hmm.
could from your experience, which in the moment was absolutely horrific.
Oh, yeah.
So, when you're working with clients, are you literally having them sit down and make a list of all of the experiences in their life that they can remember? And I'm sure that's happens over the course of a period of time because, hey, we've all had a lot of experiences. Is that how you get started with clients?
It is. It's actually so funny that you bring that up because it's actually a free self-assessment that is available to anyone. It doesn't mean that they have to work with me. It's just if you need a little help, some questions to help jog your memory about your past experiences in a variety of areas. And, once you start thinking about that, it continues to grow. Once the shift happens, then you just continue down that path and then you start collecting mini moments. You take the mini moments from your past, start building your unknown bucket list, leverage it to go forward, and then you continue to keep collecting mini moments. And that's how your life becomes supersized because you're also then using that strength that you've found on how to make bigger goals and dream bigger. And but the self-assessment is how you get started, and then at the end of it, if somebody wanted some additional help or to continue to work and move forward, that is an option. But basically I just take you through several buckets and um, how to shift your thinking, and it's all done in micro shifts, so it's very easy to implement into your life.
Beautiful. I love the idea of thinking of my life as mini moments and moving forward. So, if I know we had also talked about a free gift, I'm assuming that's your free gift. So, if you would like to share with how people can access that and how people can reach out to you if they would like to, that would be awesome.
So they can access the free self-assessment. It's a play on words. So it's you resumeyourlife.com or resumeyourlife.com. And so I kind of make a little joke that you can resume your life to start resuming your life, this time the one you decide that you want. So resumeyourlife.com. And I'm on pretty much all the social media channels under the Unknown Bucket List. Instagram, Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn under J Lumen. And most of those also have a link to the resumeyourlife.com website. So a number of ways.
Wonderful. So I'll make sure those are in the show notes so everybody can access that. And as we wrap up here, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and just thinking differently about, your dreams, your goals, and how you've lived your life and turning your micro moments into a powerful template for being able to move forward, building all of your strengths into that tapestry. So it's beautiful. What last words of wisdom would you like to share with the audience?
To live like life is short, but also live life like it's long. And it's a matter of finding the balance in between. So that way you're always living a life that you don't regret. You're always making intentional decisions about what it is that you want. And then it just goes back into what I was saying earlier about you're never going to, when your time comes, you're never going to need more time to do the things because you've been intentionally living all the time.
That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you very, very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And to my audience, thank you for tuning in each and every week. Really love having you come and show up and be interested in your health, your mindset, your life, and learning from all of the guests that I have on the show. And if something you heard today resonated with you, or you know someone in your life that needs to hear it, please share this episode. I want to share with you today an exciting new program that we are offering in fall of 2024. It is a 60-day program giving you 4 designations in that time frame. And over the course of the 2 months, we're not working together every single day. However, each training that we teach builds on the next. And so the first week, there's a short training, some homework, a check-in as a group before we go into the next training. And throughout this entire program, you are going to be learning about your unconscious mind, learning self-hypnosis, higher self-hypnosis, getting a designation as a hypnotherapist in the Krasner method. You will also be designing your destiny, and you will be participating in an 8-day mind-body practitioner training that gives you designations in the practitioner level of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, another hypnotherapy training, and this time in the Ericksonian method, and then as an NLP results coach. So these are powerful certifications or designations that are recognized in over 40 countries around the world that allow you to be getting out and working with your clients and helping them get the real transformation they're looking for the easy way, using the tools of the unconscious mind, releasing their trauma without even having to talk about it. So if this is something you'd like to know more about, check out the link in the show notes. Click on the link and book a call with either Billy, my training partner, or myself, and we would be happy to have a conversation with you about where you can go in your career with these designations in just 60 days.